Hello and welcome to Game Changer. I'm Mariam Ziad. Tonight we will be taking a look at the recent visit of Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif to Azerbaijan at the invitation of President of Azerbaijan, Mr. Ilham Aliyev. The visit was designed to deepen cooperation between both brotherly countries across various fields, including energy, trade, and of course education, cultural ties as well. In today's program, we'll be taking a look at the significance of this visit because we know that of course both countries agreed to take their economic ties to a different level. And when we talk about the investments that are promised by Azerbaijan and the key agreements that were signed in different fields, they are going to be boosting the trade volume to $2 billion. And of course, when we look at Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, he said that the $2 billion investment in Pakistan announced by Azerbaijan president will bring dividends to both the countries. And this will be the first quantum jump in our trade and investment relations, and it will be a huge reflection of our fraternal ties, the Prime Minister said. And when we look at the historical ties between both the countries, of course, Pakistan was one of the first countries that recognized Azerbaijan in 1991. And what this visit means for the future of both our nations, and also when we look at in the context of Pakistan's Vision Central Asia policy, we'll be discussing in today's program. To discuss this and more, we are joined in the studios by Mr. Humayun Iqbal Shami, who is President of Pakistan Economic Forum. Welcome to the program. We are joined online by former Ambassador Mr. G.R. Baloch. Welcome to the program. And we're also joined by international relations expert Dr. Gulay Aisha Bhatti. Welcome to the program. Former Ambassador G.R. Baloch, let me start with you. In your opinion, what is the significance of this visit, especially when we know that this is the second visit of Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif since he took over office in March 2024?
Mariam, thank you. I think this visit to Azerbaijan has to be seen in the context of Pakistan's overall strategy of its priority to the far neighbors or the near neighbors. Central Asia are our neighbors, maybe a little bit far in between Afghanistan, but obviously we have the corridor to Turkmenistan. And when these countries got freedom, Pakistan was among the first countries to recognize them. I remember I was at that time in Islamabad, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and we saw an enormous potential in collaboration with these countries in terms of economic collaboration, political coordination, and even in the realm of geostrategy, that how Pakistan's these Central Asian states and Pakistan can develop a strategic relationship with each other. Obviously, then there were different ups and downs because of the changes in our government, different priorities. I wish we had continued with that zeal that we had started that time. I remember there were also certain sums were allocated for enhancing relationship. Nonetheless, I think Pakistan has developed good relationship with all the Central Asian states, but especially one or two Central Asian states, including Azerbaijan, with whom we have very good relationship. And as you mentioned, Prime Minister, this is the second visit since taking over as the Prime Minister. That shows the intensity of relationship between the two countries. And then most important and most interesting, I may not be preempting other speakers, but from 40 million to the two leaders have agreed to bring the bilateral trade to $2 billion. That's a 4-time jump. So I'm pretty confident that the horizon they are looking at is much wider and bigger. Yes, Maria.
Of course. And when we talk about this investment, what were the bottlenecks in your opinion, Mr. Shami, that despite brotherly and close relations between both the countries, the volume of trade or the trade turnover between the both countries were very less, and that was reflected in the statements that were coming out of the two leaders meeting as well. That of course was very disappointing, but now this is a good step. What sectors, my second point is that what sectors are going to be benefiting from this 2 billion investment in Pakistan?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I like to tell about that why we had very little trade relationship with these countries. Actually, the thing is that we don't have a border adjoining with our Azerbaijan, even with the Central Asian. Either we have to pass through Afghanistan or Iran. Both have been Pakistan. I mean, Afghanistan traditionally has been under threat from the terrorism, and the Iran. There has been sanctions, you know. So there was a difficulty in this way. But now, after this Nagorno-Karabakh issue, you know, Azerbaijan and Pakistan have become very close. So I particularly suggest that this visit and even the relationship with the trade ties and the investment ties with Azerbaijan are very, very important and a win-win situation for both the countries. Because at the time when we are looking for the IMF, you know, for their tranches, for about $1 billion a year, we are begging almost. So this is very, I mean, in that scenario, when these type of investments are coming, and now win-win situation when we say, why I'll say that Azerbaijan is very rich in oil and gas, and these two things which Pakistan is importing, almost consuming almost about 2/3 of its export only on import of energy like oil and gas, LNG, and you know, and Azerbaijan is very rich in this, and it wants to import, it wants to export this to Pakistan. And whereas Azerbaijan definitely need has a defense concern, and Pakistan is very good in making the defense equipment now. And very recently we have signed J-17 Block 3, that costs about $3 billion.
Right.
And that include the planes and the spares and the training also. And it is encouraging to the other countries also to purchase these things from Pakistan. So this is a good situation, and Pakistan can, and then we have signed in the visit also a MOU signed about the oil gas pipeline which will come from Karachi going to upcountry, which will be an alternate route, and obviously it will lessen the burden on our roads, road transportation.
Right. Let me bring in Dr. Gule Aisha into the discussion. Dr. Gule Aisha, let's talk about the energy cooperation between both the countries, and of course, like Shami Saab alluded to, the project that is White Oil Pipeline Project. What are the anticipated benefits of this project, and what sectors are going to be getting maximum benefits when we look at this project, and what is the anticipated timeline?
Thank you, Mariam. Actually, I was just about to explain about how these new contracts they have signed, and there are 4 major agreements they signed in energy sector related to you know, the energy pipelines and LNGs. And the main beneficiary is going to be obviously Pakistan and Azerbaijan, but the companies involved are the PSO and FW and SOCAR, and that is the Azerbaijan State Oil Company. And they had these 4 recent agreements, and they were highly anticipated, although you know, they have given the time of 1 month. So during this 1 month they are going to look into the, you know, the threshold, they are looking to sign the whole deal, and later on they are going to visit Pakistan, and I think this is expected in April. And then these 4 major agreements are going to be signed, and they are related to the energy routes. And now we have to look into one thing, and the importance and significance of these agreements specifically related to the energy. Why this is important for Pakistan? We know that Pakistan is an energy deficit country, and all of our and not only the energy deficit, we are in actually the trade deficit as well. So it's a kind of a vicious cycle in which the economy of Pakistan is badly has been collapsed. So what we are looking into after signing all these 4 deals, specifically with the, you know, the recent development, all those energy requirements of the Pakistan is going to be fulfilled, because the Caspian state, Azerbaijan, it's an energy rich source, and it has got all the potential to provide and to fulfill all the energy demands. But again, we were talking about the threshold, we're talking about the bottlenecks. So the issue is that there is no direct transit route with Azerbaijan. Pakistan has to deal with Iran, or through the Caspian Sea, or through the Turkey. So this is something, there is no direct trade route, and they are working on it as well. And then there is another thing that is, like my colleague was talking about, that Karabakh is the place that is still unexplored, and there is so much potential over there. But that a kind of awareness is not there between the business to business development, that it should be promoted. However, these energy developments, along with the defense agreements, along the importance and significance of Gwadar port that has been mentioned by the Prime Minister of Pakistan in his yesterday's address in Azerbaijan, that is significant, because they are going to utilize Gwadar as a hub for transaction, hub for import and export, and that is significant, and Pakistan is going to fulfill all its demand. But there is another thing. Last year, I think, they talked about and about to sign probably, correct me if I'm wrong, and that was related to Azerbaijan's investment in this solar energy sector, and that was highly anticipated. And later on, they talked about this energy pipelines. They started working on it. So that's a very good development. But another thing that is, the security condition in Afghanistan and the nearby regions, specifically the threat of ISIS, Khorasan, and the rest of the terrorist organizations, that is important to consider.
Right, we will be coming back to the bottlenecks in implementation of these MOUs that are signed between both the countries. But Mr. Shami, when we look at these agreements, especially in energy sector between both the countries, how critical is the role of state oil of Azerbaijan Republic, and especially keeping in mind the recently signed agreement? And when we look at the timeline, of course, President of Azerbaijan is expected to visit Pakistan in April this year. But in terms of implementation of these agreements, what is timeline? What is going to be timeline in your opinion?
What the government is saying, both the government, because this was when it was disclosed that by April these will be matured. Actually, basically, thing is that you have to have the financial close. MOUs are already have been signed. Now the next issue is the financial close. So, and it was said in the press conference where the Prime Minister was there, and where the Azerbaijani president were there. It means that the political will is there. So when the agreements will be almost between G to G, because this is our state oil company from Azerbaijan, and Pakistan state oil company in Pakistan. So it will be almost G to G, most of them. So when the political will is there, I don't think that there will be any hindrance in implementation this, and in April or around that period, I think these will be matured. So that will not be a difficult thing. Only because now the go-ahead signal has been given. So these G2G agreements, will not take. There will be some modalities, obviously, has to be taken, but they are very professional. PSO people are very professional, and they know all these things, nitty-gritty. So I don't think that it will be a difficult thing. So by this time, I think I am very hopeful that by
and
April,
it would definitely increase the trade volume between both the countries.
It will increase, but it will not. There will not be substantial increase in the trade volume instantly. Actually,
Of course,
because it will take time. Because now these agreement, financial close, and implementation. So obviously it will take time. But this is what you say in Urdu, shuruaat. That is the beginning of that. So beginning every people say 1,000-mile journey start from the first step.
Yes.
So we have to take the first step. Before that, we didn't have any. I think 5-10 years before, we didn't have any type of
direct
relationship.
flights were not available.
So now we are
Yes.
and Azerbaijan is one of those countries where Pakistanis are respected like Pakistani brothers.
Yes,
So we have to encash this thing also. Both countries having very good relationship with.
And that brings me to my next point, Mr. G.R. Baloch. Of course, like Mr. Shami alluded to the point that Pakistanis are respected like brothers, and because of the significance of Pakistan's defense forces and diplomatic level as well when we talk about Karabakh conflict. So how do you think that this historical significance deepens the ties between both the countries, and how do you think that both the countries have supported each other? When we talk about Pakistan, of course, Pakistan has supported Azerbaijan on Karabakh conflict, and simultaneously Azerbaijan has supported at international forums on the issue of Kashmir.
This is an important aspect of any bilateral relations. Actually, rest of the cooperation, collaboration, and expansion of bilateral relations actually is hinged upon how much political understanding the two countries are, more than two countries have, on major issues of concern. For Azerbaijan, we know that this Nagorno-Karabakh has been there for decades. It has gone through several crises, insurgencies, and even genocide of the Muslims in that region at the hands of the Armenians and other collaborators with the Armenians in that area, which was unfortunate. The losses from any side are, but then as we saw in 2022 and 2023, that Azerbaijan took a decisive decision as a country, as a nation, to resolve this issue, since there was no other option left for them. So they had to go for the military and a kinetic solution. And Pakistan, as a sincere friend, as a country which stands with the principles of the countries. So we're not warmongers. I think maybe there might be some international audience to what we are saying. So we have to make sure that what we say, each word is conveyed with that context. We only support a country's right to defend itself. So it was a justified cause of Azerbaijan and those Muslims living in that area for centuries, not decades, for centuries. And they were being persecuted at the hands of that community which was living there because of an external interference there. So our standing by Azerbaijan was based on principles, on humanity. And I think when we stood by with Azerbaijan, they understood that Pakistan is standing by with the nation, with their nation in the difficult time, in the challenging time. Likewise,
And it was
Kashmir
right.
Yes.
Yeah,
Likewise, Kashmir is our important and a vital political issue for us, which we have supported, and we always considered it as a unfinished agenda of the partition of the subcontinent. So I think the two countries have complete convergence on these two vital political issues.
Right, right. And of course, when we talk about this, moving forward, Dr. Aisha, when we talk about Pakistan's Vision Central Asia policy that includes all the CARS countries and Azerbaijan, how do you think this visit is significant in context of CARS policy of Pakistan, and how do you think that Pakistan is diversifying its diplomatic options and economic partnerships?
This is a very wise decision to explore your neighborhood, because in the era where we are living, it's called as the regionalism, where the regions grow. It's not about the growth of a single state in isolation. It's always about the regional growth. So regional growth is only possible if the states in your neighborhood, they grow with you, they have the good diplomatic relation, economic relation, strategic alignment with the neighboring states. So Pakistan is rightly moving toward its neighborhood and exploring all those options, and most importantly, again, Pakistan being an energy deficit state, this is important to look into the available closer options for energy. And as far as the convergence of interest is concerned, So they are on the same page. They have, sometimes states find difficult to have people-to-people connection, but in case of Pakistan and Kar state and specifically Azerbaijan, even the people-to-people connection is very strong. They have legacy since I think 14th century, and they were 8 old trade routes they used to travel along, and even so many ethnic groups living in Pakistan, they have the legacy. Their ancestors came from the Central Asia, so the people-to-people connection is very strong, and regionalism is building strongly. And then there is another forum of SCO. There, all of them are working on this anti-terrorism and peace and stability of the region. But problem remains the same. There are some states, those who are not interested in this regional growth, in peace and prosperity of the region. Let's take the example of Afghanistan, the way they are dealing with the presence of PTP, and then ISIS Khorasan's issues there. So there should be a very mature approach from the other states as well, because the region grows. It's not the state that grows in isolation. So it's the very right decision that has been, and very timely decision has been taken by the Prime Minister of Pakistan. And eventually it's going to be very fruitful in the future as well. And along with that, if we move more further toward Russia. So there is Mr. Putin's policy came in I think 2000, right from the 21st century, and he said that Russia looked toward the east. So the east is Central Asia, and then the rest of the Asia and Pakistan. So this whole region is working for the prosperity of Asia, and they are on the same interest right now. And the Mr. Xi Jinping, once he said that we should not allow the outsiders to come. We should work for our own self, and internal growth should be there instead of looking toward the outsiders.
Right. Of course, we should not be looking towards the outsiders. And Mr. J.R. Baloch, what's your take on Pakistan's Central Asia policy and moving forward? Of course, when we talk about this visit and its significance in the light of regional and global changing dynamics, how do you think Pakistan can use its Gwadar port as a regional hub for trade and transportation?
Yeah, definitely. Pakistan has a great potential, and especially Gwadar, which is one of the unique deep port in Asia, and perhaps among several other, one or two very few deep sea ports in the world, which can compete with Gwadar's unique geography and oceanography. So yes, I think we could, and these Central Asian states can connect with the West Asia and beyond through Gwadar. So I think we have to fit in our Central Asian initiatives with this major geostrategic and geoeconomic actually policy of somehow integrating the Central Asian trade through Gwadar, to and from, both ways. This is one thing that we need to really keep working. And now, since we are discussing Azerbaijan, so what I was thinking that perhaps this could give us a template as to how can we replicate this template of collaboration, cooperation, mutual cooperation between Central Asia and Pakistan with other Central Asian states. Or
yes, and that
could become a hub for furthering our cooperation. One. The second point I would like to make using this forum is that now is the time to also engage our private sector. Whatever limited private sector these Central Asian states have, because they are kind of semi-state controlled, still I think they have they are nurturing their private sector businesses. So our business sector, businessmen, industrialists should go exclusively explore it, their relationship, and make Azerbaijan as a staging point for furthering their trade and industrial relations with the private sectors in the other Central Asian states. So I think this can become a very important hub for Pakistan's really a more productive interaction with the rest of the Central Asian states.
Right, right. Very rightly pointed out that, of course, we can use this visit and the template that is provided by this visit in other Central Asian states as well. And that is why Prime Minister is set to visit Uzbekistan as well. And we will be discussing those, of course, outcomes of that visit in coming days. We would be witnessing those outcomes as well. But the second point that G.R. Baloch Saab alluded to is the significance of private sector. And I want to ask you about the significance or the importance of Pakistan-Azerbaijan Business Forum, where Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif delivered a keynote speech as well. How do you think that such initiatives can be utilized for tangible economic outcomes?
Obviously, you know, business community is the basic growth engine for any country. There is no doubt in it. So B2B agreements are always very fruitful in the end. But as we know that these countries have been under the communist influence for since 1990s and something. And then still they could not develop a big business forums and the private community. In Pakistan, obviously business community is there, but that is also driven if the government political will is there and the political, some of their government offers some subsidy, something, you know. But I personally feel that if these MOUs which have been signed now, you know, just yesterday, if they are matured, then it will definitely encourage, it will pave the way for the business community to come up, Pakistani business community to come up, and they can get the subletting of some tendering, some contracts or something. So I don't think, because the business community in Pakistan, you know, is a little frightened from the going for a new adventure and going for something where they feel there is a they are not sure how profitable.
So what kind of incentives are needed at this point in time for business communities at both sides, especially when we talk about transit trade agreements and preferential trade agreements? What kind of incentives are required for businesses to invest in Pakistan, and what sectors do you think there is more feasibility that where they can come and invest in?
Obviously, the first thing which the business community requires is the clarity of the policies. What are the actual policies, you know? So then they can make their own feasibility.
So don't you think that SIFC and Pakistan Single Window are going to be addressing a lot of issues that we were facing in the past, like red tapeism?
The thing is, this SIFC is not taking up the cases at mostly on a suo motu basis. They are not taking up. Rather, they are actually working as a coordination between the government bureaucracy and the business community. Because the business community, particularly the foreign investors, traditionally they had a complaint that the bureaucracy, the red tapeism is very high in the bureaucracy, and they take too much regulations are there. Almost there are 122 regulatory authorities working in Pakistan. So they are 122 authorities, the regulatory authorities, they are not regulating, they are hindering the business, particularly for the startup business. So they speed up that, they curtail the time. So basically SIFC, the basic purpose of SIFC is only to coordinate and to speed up the matters, you know. So, but so far I think SIFC, the issue has not been taken up by any business group to the SIFC. So, but overall, I think this, I think that the way this is going on, I think this is a proper way. That the PSO is obviously is a government entity.
PSO and FW.
PSO, yeah, obviously is a government entity in Pakistan, but it is almost an autonomous, and they have, this is a company, and they are working at its own. So the government should give them a free hand. Instead to have a bureaucratic control on the PSO, rather should give them a big hand. And if they go ahead, you know, so they can bring in lot of it can encourage, and they can bring in, they can include some of the business people in this scenario. And then as very rightly said about that, the Gwadar port can be used, and Central Asian countries, they really want the export and import through Gwadar port, because Gwadar port is the deepest seaport in this area, in Asia proper, particularly. So they definitely need this thing, or they want this thing. So in this transit business, when we have a transit business, so in this business, a lot of private sector, particularly in the logistic field and particularly in the handling. So I think they can be included in a big way. So I think, but
Right.
let it to be started. I think by we should see that let it to start. Let it from the G2. There is no issue. I don't think by April. I think there will be clarity. Will be come out, and a lot of private sector people.
Right. And when we talk about bottlenecks, of course, the connectivity remained an important challenge or bottleneck between, of course, enhancing the economic ties between both the countries. Dr. Gule Aisha, when we talk about this visit, of course, President of Republic of Azerbaijan also suggested an international corridor. What's your take on that, and also how this is going to be enhancing trade volume between both the countries, and how important is this going to be important for the entire region if implemented upon?
The trade volume, I think it's not going to be that significant among these two states because, the population of the Azerbaijan, it's less than even the population of the Karachi. So what we can expect from that trade outcome, but still there is a healthy growth should be there. It's really minimal to have this kind of small bilateral trade volume among these two states, those who are connected to each other and have there so many issues and so many interest in convergence. However, the to provide business security and peace to the investor, and to make them provide them the surety that there should not be any loss. There should be a proper consultation being provided to them, and there should be proper risk management, proper facilitation should be there. So there are although a few of the departments. One is I think BPC, that is a bilateral potential this consultation for, and they have jointly working on it. And then recently the agreement that is signed between SOCAR, PSO and PRL, that is for the consultancy support, that is for the technical support, that is for the risk management, procurement, consultancy advices. So yes, to make sure that the B2B relation should be improved, and there should be a collaborative joint effort in the region. These developments are good, but we have to understand all these factors that are creating hindrances, and one of them is there was a time when Pakistan was having it's one of its national bank's branch in Azerbaijan, but this is closed now, and the business and the trade that is supposed to be done over there, they might be having problem in remittances and flow of that capital. So these kind of infrastructure and these kind of administrative help should be there for all those business and all those private investors, those who wants to explore so many other aspects other than the Europe and the Dubai. So it should be there, but facilitation should be there. There is a kind of uncertainty among the businessmen.
Right. And Mr. Jia Balut, I want your take on this international, of course, infrastructure corridor that was suggested by President of Republic of Azerbaijan. And also there were, of course, issues of regional and global significance were also discussed between both the leaders. What's your take on that?
Yeah, first of all, I think going on to these are two very important and of course detailed answer is required, but just to briefly say that it is imperative, it is indispensable for Pakistan and Central Asian states to develop different communication infrastructure, which includes roads, trains, gas pipelines, oil pipelines. So there should be a mash of these things in the coming 5, 10 years, 20 years. That's the only way we can really do the business with them and really use the real potential of Pakistan as well as all the Central Asian states and beyond, and so on and so forth. So I think we should start working on the north-south corridor, which has been suggested earlier. And I think now something concrete has to be done. And we, despite the fact that Afghanistan is not yet acting as a normal state, we should engage them on regional forums. We should engage them bilaterally, multilaterally, and despite their problems, they could sort of give some security guarantees for this this corridor, which should benefit them because they will be getting transit taxes and other benefit that they come in with this. So I think this is on the communication. On the global, I think since the world is changing into more regional blocks now, that polarity is gone. It's all about your local neighborhood, your near neighborhood and your far neighborhood, which you will be depending on for your economic relationship, your diplomatic support to each other, and for the political purposes. So I think this is important for us to nurture, despite the fact that maybe their population may be small, but then they have their weight, they have their vote in the UN. So I think we have to evolve that policy of nurturing our overall relationship with all these states, irrespective of their size. But since they are in our far neighborhood, and we should first of all connect them with us, and then leverage that connectivity for nurturing our bilateral relations at the state-to-state level, and then consolidate them into a regional trade, a regional market, or a bloc that can be dreamt of. So we should remember, we used to really play these mental exercises that what will happen if this entire Central Asia becomes with Pakistan as a big bloc. So why not? I mean, that dream should be followed. Why not? Yes, ma'am.
Right. Why not? Why not? And I also want your take on or touch upon the historical ties. And of course, we know that there are historical heritage that is symbolized by structures like Multan Sarai. That is. How do you think that cultural diplomacy is important between both the countries? Especially, we know that one of the MOUs was signed between the city of Nakhchivan and Lahore. How important are these cultural exchanges in solidifying people-to-people contacts or rather political or economic contacts between both the countries?
Is it to me or to Dr.
Yes, Mr. G.R.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think culture actually underpins the relationship, because at the end of the day, it is about the people. It is about human beings. It is about sharing the values. It's about those subtle aspects of the two cultures, and we have so much in common. There's so much of in fact, I was reading, because I teach also history, that even this blue ceramic that we see in Multan, the tombs that we see with the blue tiles, and even architecture, that all comes from Central Asia. Not only that, but our in fact major Mughal, what we call Mughlai culture, which evolved in the subcontinent, has so much of Central Asian impact on it. So I think that's a very, very important element in nurturing our bilateral relationship, and I think we should develop this between different cities, between different capitals, and I think our youth has to be engaged. Our youth knows so little about the Central Asian state. Likewise, the youth of Central Asia knows so little about Pakistan. I wish there was an MOU on exchange of youth. So I hope in the next visit of the Prime Minister, or maybe the coming visit to Uzbek, is going to the next other Central Asian state. This should be brought in, where the youth of the two countries should visit each other, they know each other, so that we can, transfer this affinity, cultural affinity, to our future generations. Yes, Maria.
That is very important, but of course education exchange between both the countries are important when we talk about brotherly ties. And when Azerbaijanis, like Shami Saab earlier alluded to, that they respect Pakistanis because of the diplomatic and defense importance Pakistan gave to Karabakh conflict. But coming to you, Dr. Aisha, when we talk about this visit, how important it is in terms of furthering Pakistan's economic diplomacy, and since now Prime Minister is going to Uzbekistan as well, how do you think this is going to be furthering our efforts towards enhancing our foreign direct investments?
Mariam, as I told it before, that it's about the Pakistan's energy demand and the requirement Pakistan has to fulfill, and that is definitely going to be fulfilled if we have very good relations, especially related to the energy sector with the Central Asian countries and Azerbaijan. But many times when I had the meetings with any of their ambassadors or their diplomats, they always talk about that you have to fulfill the previous agreements and previous the deals you have done. For example, if we take the example of Iran, so we had that IP project and it's still in pending, and Pakistan is facing international pressure as well, but we are not working on it. The way we should have been done. And then there is a TAPI project, Picasa 1000, and so many projects are always in the pipeline, and we should work on that as well for the fulfillment of the previous, all the energy projects, all those projects that can fulfill Pakistan's all economic and energy demands. They should be considered first, because that makes our state reliable to work with in the future. If we are not fulfilling the previous demands and previous our agreements, so definitely it doesn't make a very good impression of a state. So that's the big issue, because I have seen and I have
Interrupt
talked
you,
about
Dr. Aisha.
so many forums.
Rightly pointed out that of course those agreements need to be implemented in letter and spirit, but at the same time my question is what needs to be done, what kind of mechanisms are needed for Pakistan to implement those agreements, especially when we talk about the recent visit.
Okay, Mariam, there should be three levels of it. The one is related to G2G relation. It should be there, proper mechanism is there. As my colleague was talking about, that these MOUs are just a piece of paper. They need proper institutionalization, proper mechanism to work on it. So that is important. The practicality of these MOUs are important, and G2G relation is important. Then to engage more further, there should be B2B engagement, and there should be the businessmen on the both sides. They should be involved. They should be provided with all the facilitation, all the consultancy, all the important tools they are looking after. And then there is going to be the people-to-people connection that should be there. Only because of all these stages, when we fulfill, then we are going to have a strong, a healthy relationship among the states, specifically in this region, in order to fulfill all the economic energy demands. So these three levels should be fulfilled, and I think we are on working on it. The Prime Minister's recent visit, and especially since these 2 years, we have seen so many visits from the Central Asian countries, and their enthusiasm and their interest and their participation in Pakistan's economic and energy matter. That is highly commendable, and I think we are moving toward a very healthy approach, and it should be like that.
Right, it should be like that. Mr. Shami, moving forward and concluding remarks, how do you see the long-term impacts of this important visit on Pakistan-Azerbaijan relations?
Very important, particularly if one thing which I missed also, and the others also missed, that the LNG agreement with the
yes.
Very, very important, because we are importing it right now from Qatar and some other countries also.
So now amends are made to the earlier agreement of
and now
LNG.
the thing is this, that with the agreement with the Qatar, which has to be renegotiated after I think 10th year, and I think 10 years almost passed. I think maybe next year we have to renegotiate it. This agreement with this with the LNG agreement with the Azerbaijan is on the take and pay basis, So we are not bound to import particular quantity of LNG in any case, even we don't need that. Right now we are facing this problem that we have glut of the gas, and despite that we are bound to import that. But Azerbaijani agreement is free from that, and then the price difference is there. So it will help us to renegotiate when we are renegotiating the LNG contract with the Qatar, So definitely it will it will give a boost. It will give boost to us, our policies, our point of view, and I think we will be having a better agreement with the Qatar now. Much better.
When we have an example of the past,
when we have, so because we will having an alternate here. As far as this that Dr. Aisha is saying about that the IPI agreement, I mean Iran, Pakistan, India agreement. India already had quitted from that. That was Iran, Pakistan. But under the circumstances, I think that agreement should not have been signed at that time because we knew that American sanctions were there.
Right, but let's keep that discussion for another show. Thank you very much. Jia Baloch Saab, your last few words on the importance of this visit and how both countries are going to be benefiting from this visit in terms of regional connectivity.
Yeah, I think Pakistan being at the confluence of Central Asia, West Asia and South Asia has some kind of a geographical location which gives it a role. And I think this visit is a witness or a testimony to the priority that this government is giving, and this Prime Minister who really believes in new horizons, new territories, new fields to explore, and also that since it is going to give us a energy independence, because we are an energy deficit country. So I think any initiative which gives us a sort of energy independence, that should be welcome. So I think I see this as a major success in our foreign relations, and I think it should be followed up with similar visits to other Central Asian states, and we must consolidate and use our geostrategic location, as I said, of being at the confluence, and we should become the corridors of energy, so we can use our
strategic hub for regional connectivity.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yes.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. G.R. Baloch, for joining us in today's program. Thank you very much, Dr. Aisha Gulebhatti, for joining us in today's program. Thank you very much, Mr. Humayun Shami, for joining us in today's program. That's all from today's discussion. Thank you for joining.